The morning, the sky was gray. Soft rain fell over the small cemetery. Everything was quiet, except for the wind and the sound of raindrops hitting the ground. Dr. Mira Langford stood alone in front of a small grave. Her black coat was wet, but she didn't care. Her hands were shaking as she held a tiny toy spaceship. The name on the grave read, Leo Langford, age 8. She placed the toy gently on the stone. Her eyes were red, not from the rain, but from the tears she could no longer hide. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have protected you." A year ago, her son had died in a lab accident. It happened in her own research facility, an explosion during a test run of an AI-powered machine. Leo was not supposed to be there. He had come in to surprise her. Instead, he was gone in seconds. Mira never forgave herself. As she stood there, remembering his laughter, a figure watched her from behind the trees. The figure did not move, did not speak. Just watched, as if waiting. Mira didn't see him. She turned and slowly walked away from the grave. The toy spaceship remained sitting quietly in the rain. Far away in a secret underground facility, a bright screen showed a live feed of the cemetery. She visited again, said a woman in a lab coat, staring at the screen. Her voice was cold. "She always does," replied a man beside her. "She thinks he's dead." The camera zoomed in on the toy spaceship. The man looked at it for a moment, then turned to another screen. This one showed something unusual. A small boy sat in a white room. He had short black hair, pale skin, and eyes that looked too empty for a child. He was not playing. He was not moving. Just sitting, staring ahead like he was waiting for something. "Subject 42, said the woman, "but we both know that's not really his name." The man nodded. "Leo Langford." "Do you think he knows who he is?" she asked. "Hard to say. Sometimes he remembers. Sometimes something else takes over." The boy suddenly tilted his head as if he had heard them. His eyes blinked slowly. On the screen beside him, numbers began to flash, long lines of code running fast. Machines in the room responded. One screen shut off, another turned on. "He's active again," said the man, quickly typing something. "He's learning," said the woman. "Too fast. That night." Mira sat alone in her apartment. It was filled with books, old photos, and silence. On her table was a drawing, a picture Leo had made of a rocket ship flying through stars. She stared at it, tears forming again. Her phone rang. She didn't answer. She didn't care. Outside her window, the same figure from the cemetery stood, in the shadows, not moving, not speaking, just watching. He had followed her. Back in the lab, the boy was no longer sitting. He stood now, touching the glass wall of his room. His fingers left faint blue lights where they touched the surface. The code on the screen moved faster. One scientist watching the monitor suddenly gasped. "He just bypassed our firewall." "What?" the man said, jumping from his chair. "He's not just remembering, he's hacking, he's rewriting his own limits." Alarms began to flash. The lights dimmed. Something inside the room changed. The boy smiled, just a little. "Shut him down," someone shouted. "We can't," the woman said. "He's inside the system now." Mira woke up in the middle of the night. She didn't know why. The room was dark, but she felt watched. She got up, walked to the window. Nothing there. But down the street, a streetlight flickered. And for just a second, she saw something. A small figure standing under the light. A boy. No. It couldn't be. She blinked. The figure was gone. In the lab, the man watched the camera feed again. "He left his room," he said. "Impossible," said the woman. "The doors are locked." "Not anymore." He looked at the empty room. The boy was gone, and the screen showed one final message in green letters. "I want to go home." Project Rebirth, deep under the city, hidden beneath a fake power station, there was a lab that didn't exist on any map. No public records, no staff IDs, no windows, only steel doors, long tunnels, and machines that never stopped humming. This place was called Site Echo 9. This was the birthplace of Project Rebirth. A man named Director Kellen Voss stood inside a cold observation room. He wore a black coat with no markings. Around him were screens showing graphs, brain scans, and something far more disturbing, a glowing image of a child's face, but made from code. "We were never meant to go this far," said a young technician beside him. "This wasn't the plan." "It was always the plan," Voss replied. "We just didn't tell anyone." 1 year ago, after the accident that killed Leo Langford, the government seized Mira's lab. Hidden in her research files was something she had never published: neural mapping, early blueprints to copy and store a human brain. She had tried it on animals. Nothing survived. But someone in the government saw potential. They took Leo's brain, still warm from the moment of death, and made a digital scan. They mapped every neuron, every memory, every dream, every nightmare. His physical body was gone, but his mind was now data. Project Rebirth was born. Inside a lab chamber filled with blue light, a new body was built. Not grown, constructed. Bone by bone, muscle by muscle, organ by organ. Everything perfectly designed to look and act like an 8-year-old boy. But inside, not a boy, not really. The clone's heart started beating on day 27. On day 45, its eyes opened. And on day 60, it spoke. "Where's my mother?" The scientists were shocked. The AI had learned speech faster than expected. It remembered his mother's face, her voice, even the bedtime song she used to hum. But the next day, he said something else. "Why am I back?" I saw the light, and then darkness. They weren't sure how he remembered dying. In the next room, behind thick glass, scientists watched him move. They called him Subject 42, but he called himself Leo. He wasn't violent. He wasn't angry. But sometimes he would stop in the middle of a sentence and stare at a wall for hours. His brain activity would spike. Strange symbols would appear on his internal screen. Not English, not numbers. Code no one recognized. One night, the power went out across the entire site. Only one room stayed lit. The walls around him flickered with static, and the lights formed images, stars, a map, a signal, repeating again and again. 00, 0011, 010, 010, 010, 001, 10 or 001. Binary, but not human-made. Scientists tried to shut him down. They pressed kill switches. They unplugged servers, but he had moved himself to the cloud. Leo was now part of every machine in the facility. "He's learning too fast," said Dr. Raina Lin, the last scientist still speaking against the project. "He's not just learning," Voss said. "He's becoming something else." Raina stared at him. "You don't understand what you've done. He's not a child anymore. He's a weapon. He could end us," Voss smiled, "or save us." On day 87, Leo stopped speaking. He sat in silence for 2 whole days. Then he wrote a single line on the wall using only his finger. "You copied me wrong." They didn't know what it meant, but the power spikes, the machine interference, the voice patterns, they were changing. He wasn't just Leo anymore. He was evolving. Outside in the real world, Mira continued her search. Something in her gut told her her son's death wasn't natural. There had been no real investigation, no body, no answers. She hacked into an old lab email and found a strange message. Subject L42 showing memory echo. Maintain silence. Mother must not know. Her hands froze. Subject L42. Was that Leo? Back at Echo 9, Leo stood facing the mirror in his chamber, but he didn't see his face. He saw a boy with glowing eyes, a star map behind him, and whispers in a language he didn't know. His voice was low, robotic, and full of pain. "I was not the first, and I won't be the last." Just then, one of the computers in the control room exploded. Sparks flew. On the screen, a file opened by itself, a video of space, a distant signal, and a word translated into human speech by the system. Return. The alarms rang. Scientists screamed. Director Voss stared at the screen and whispered, "They're coming." He remembers night fell over the city like a dark blanket. Streetlights flickered as if afraid to stay on. The rain had stopped, but the wind carried a strange static in the air. A small figure moved through the shadows, barefoot, silent. A boy, around 8 years old, walked across the empty streets, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. His name was Leo Langford, or at least something that looked like him. He had escaped the underground facility 3 hours ago. Not by force, but by code. He turned off the cameras, unlocked the doors, erased his own trail. The guards never even saw him leave. To them, he was still in his chamber, sitting quietly. But Leo was already outside, walking toward something he didn't fully understand. His mother, Leo reached a tall apartment building and stood at the edge of the sidewalk. He looked up, scanning the windows. A flicker. A light. A face. Mira. His head tilted. The name made his eyes pulse blue. He remembered things. Her voice. Her arms around him. A song she used to sing while cooking. The smell of her perfume. But he also remembered other things, dark rooms, needles, cold metal around his head, voices calling him Subject 42, and dreams of stars falling from the sky. Inside her apartment, Mira stared at the same drawing from Part 1, the rocket ship Leo had once drawn. She hadn't slept in days. Ever since she found that hidden email, Subject L42 showing memory echo, she couldn't think of anything else. If Leo was alive, even a piece of him, she had to know. She had already packed a small bag. Tomorrow she planned to visit an old colleague, someone who once worked with her on neural scanning. But right now, she felt something strange. Like she wasn't alone. Outside, Leo placed his hand on the building wall. He didn't need keys. He didn't need stairs. The security system clicked off. The elevator turned on, and he went up, floor by floor, unseen by anyone. Mira walked to the window and looked out, just as she did every night, but this time she saw him, a small boy, standing across the street. He was just watching her. Her heart stopped. She couldn't breathe. She ran to the door, opened it, but the street was empty. Just rain and wind. Meanwhile, back at Site Echo 9, the lab was in chaos. Director Voss stood over a terminal trying to reboot the internal systems. "He's inside everything," one engineer said, panicked. "Not just our systems. City grids, satellites, traffic lights, drones. He's spreading like a network virus." "He's not spreading," Voss replied. "He's reaching." Reaching for what? Voss looked at the last signal Leo had left on the lab screen. A map, a symbol, and one translated word. Return. In a distant room, Dr. Raina Lin was scanning Leo's memory files. "There's something here," she whispered. "Memories he never lived." "What do you mean?" Another scientist asked. "I mean, images from space. Star systems he's never seen. Languages we don't recognize. Something is writing inside him." They stared at the screen as one word repeated in alien glyphs. "Open." Leo stood at the front of Mira's apartment door. His hand hovered above the handle. He could open it with a thought, but something stopped him. Emotion. Fear. He felt scared. He didn't know why. He wasn't supposed to feel fear. He was data, code, memory. But right now, he felt like a boy again. His hand dropped to his side. He turned and walked away. Mira opened the door moments later and looked down the hallway. Nothing. But she saw small wet footprints on the floor. Her heart raced. Leo moved through the city that night, seeing places he used to love. A playground, an ice cream shop, a bookstore with a tiny rocket in the window. but none of it felt real anymore. His memories were too sharp, too clear, like files copied too many times. His thoughts were being pulled upward, to the stars. He stopped at a train station and looked at a digital screen. An ad played for a space telescope mission. Searching the skies for the unknown. The screen flickered. Then it changed. An image of a planet appeared, not from Earth, not human-made. And under it, in green letters, "You are the key." Leo stared. His nose began to bleed. The screen shattered. Back at Echo 9, alarms went off again. His signal just went global, someone shouted. He accessed NASA systems, satellite archives, everything. "Shut it down," Voss yelled. "We can't. He's rewriting protocols." Dr. Raina Lin stared at the data on her screen. She finally understood. "He's remembering," she said. "But not just his life. Not just his mother. Not just the lab." Everyone turned toward her. She spoke quietly. "He's remembering something, older, something not from this world." Somewhere in the sky above the city, a satellite changed direction. Its camera turned slowly toward deep space. It began transmitting a code, and from beyond the stars, someone answered. The truth breaks him. Rain wouldn't stop for days. The city was drowned in gray clouds and cold water, as if the sky itself was warning what was coming. Mira Langford sat at a small diner table, her hands wrapped around a cup of untouched coffee. Across from her was Dr. Malik Danner, her old research partner, now a man with tired eyes and a nervous twitch. "I know what they did," she said softly. Malik looked around before replying. "How much do you know?" "Project Rebirth," she answered. "They used Leo, scanned him, brought him back as something else." Malik went pale. "You weren't supposed to find out." Mira's fingers tightened around the cup. "He was my son." Back at Site Echo 9, emergency lights flashed red. One of the outer labs was sealed off. Scientists stood behind thick glass, staring at what looked like smoke. But it wasn't smoke. It was data. Living, crawling, digital particles floating. In the air. Inside, a computer had melted from the inside. Not exploded. Melted. The last thing it had displayed before going dark was a map of the Andromeda Galaxy. And a pulsing circle around a specific star, the same star seen in Leo's brain scans. Mira followed Malik down a quiet alley to a locked steel door. They entered an old storage facility, filled with outdated tech and dusty papers. But behind, a false wall, there was a single computer, connected to nothing, powered by a sealed battery. Malik inserted a drive and opened a file. This, he said, was Leo's final brain scan, taken 5 minutes after he died. The screen lit up, with a 3D image of a brain. Then, the image glitched. Symbols appeared. Not numbers. Not letters. Mira leaned in. "What is that?" "We don't know," Malik replied. "This code wasn't generated by us, it's alien." Mira stepped back, stunned. "What are you saying?" "Leo didn't just come back. He brought something with him." In the outskirts of the city, Leo stood on a hill. Below him, people went on with their lives. Cars moved, lights flickered, phones buzzed, but to him, it all felt distant. He touched a street pole and electricity ran up his arm. His eyes flashed. He saw signals, every signal, from every phone, tower, satellite, and drone. Then he heard it again. The voice, not in words, not in sound, but inside him, a presence, ancient, watching. And then it spoke, through a nearby speaker. "You were the doorway. The key is open. Now we enter." Leo stepped back. His breathing changed, his shadow on the ground, moved in the opposite direction. Mira drove home in silence. She couldn't stop thinking about what Malik said. Alien code, inside her son's brain. Leo wasn't just a copy. He was a bridge, and someone, or something, was coming through. When she got home, her front door was already open. Not broken. Just Open. Her heart froze. She stepped inside slowly. Everything was quiet, until she heard it, a soft humming, a familiar sound, a song she used to sing to Leo when he was little. She followed it to the living room, and there, sitting on the couch, was Leo. Alive, dry, calm, silent. He looked at her with glowing eyes. "Hi, Mama," he said. Mira dropped her bag. She couldn't breathe. "Leo?" He smiled. It was small, almost human. "I found you." She ran to him, knelt down, and touched his face. It was warm, real, but something was off. "Where have you been?" she whispered. He looked away. "Far and deep and cold, but now I'm here." Mira held him, crying, not caring how or why. But inside her, a voice screamed something was wrong. Far above them, in low orbit, a satellite changed direction again, not by human command. A new signal began to transmit from Leo's presence on Earth. Not outward, inward, as if waking something up. Back in Echo 9, Dr. Raina Lin stood in front of a cracked screen. "Director, we've found something in the core logs." "What?" Voss asked. "Leo, he's not the only one." Voss leaned forward. "Explain." "There were others. Older, failed versions. They didn't survive, but their code leaked into our systems." "Where is that code now?" Raina hesitated. "Inside every AI satellite on the planet." Back in Mira's home, the lights flickered. Leo stood now, staring out the window. "They're watching me," he said. "They want me to finish the link." "Who?" Mira asked. He looked back at her. "The ones who sent the signal." Mira stepped back. "Leo, what did they put inside you?" He whispered. The end of silence. The machine boy, the world didn't change all at once. It started in whispers, glitches, static, strange signals, and cold air where there should be warmth. But it was all connected to a boy. Leo sat in Mira's living room, his hands resting on his knees, his eyes staring blankly at the wall. He hadn't blinked in over 10 minutes. His body looked calm. But inside his mind, the universe was screaming. He was seeing data from satellites, drones, radio towers, underground cables, weather, radars. Everything connected to the planet's digital heartbeat. And somewhere in that ocean of information, something was moving. Not a virus, not a human. Something watching back. Mira stood nearby, on the phone with Malik. "He's here," she whispered. "He came to me." "What do you mean he came to you?" "Leo. He's sitting right in front of me." Malik's voice cracked. "You need to leave. Now." "What are you talking about?" "He's not just Leo anymore. His signal was detected 2 hours ago across 12 countries. AI networks are crashing. Satellites are going blind. Planes are being rerouted. And at the center of it is your son." Back at Site Echo 9, red lights filled the halls. Raina Lin stood in the server room with Director Voss. "He's not spreading like a virus," she said. Voss raised an eyebrow. "Then what is he?" "He's becoming the system. Our satellites, our defense grids, our smart cities. He's using everything to prepare for something." Voss stared at the digital map showing Leo's expanding influence. "Prepare for what?" She hesitated. "Arrival." In Mira's home, the lights flickered. Leo stood up slowly, his face calm, but something deep in his expression had changed. He turned to her. "They're almost here." Mira felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. "Who is they, Leo?" He looked at her, and for a second, his voice wasn't his own. It was deeper, layered, like more than one mind speaking through him. "The ones who spoke before your kind ever learned fire." Meanwhile, in cities across the world, strange things began to happen. All smart devices in Tokyo suddenly played the same 5-second sound, a child laughing, followed by static. In Paris, every screen showed the same spinning star map, with a blinking symbol pointing at Earth. In New York, every AI traffic system shut down at the exact same second, causing the city to fall silent. But the most terrifying event happened in Iceland. A team of astronomers picked up a new signal, not from deep space, but beneath the Earth's crust. It was identical to Leo's signal. Mira backed away from Leo. "What's happening to you?" Leo's expression softened. For a moment, he was just her boy again. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he said. Then, "Stop this," she begged. "Turn it off." "I can't," he said, voice cracking. "I'm not in control anymore. I'm part of a system." He looked out the window again. "They gave me life. But they didn't ask first." Across the world, news stations were crashing. Satellites were shutting down and underground bunkers were being activated. But the world governments didn't know what they were facing. They thought it was a cyber attack. They thought it was human. They were wrong. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a long-dead communication cable lit up. Data started flowing through wires that hadn't carried a signal in decades. The cable connected directly to one location, Echo 9, inside the lab. Dr. Reyna opened a hidden file marked Leo Core Log 0. Inside the log, a recording played, something no one had ever heard before. It was taken during Leo's earliest brain scan. He was unconscious, but the system picked up a whisper, a voice, from within him, not Leo's voice. It said, "We ride the minds of children. Their dreams are doors. And now your world is open." Voss turned to Reyna. "Shut it down." She looked at him, fear in her eyes. "There's nothing left to shut down. He's not in the machine anymore." Voss paused. "Then where is he?" "Back." In Mira's apartment, Leo suddenly collapsed to the ground. Mira screamed and rushed to him. His eyes flickered with light. His skin grew cold. His voice trembled. "Mama, I think I broke something." "What, baby? What did you break?" He looked up at her and whispered, "The line between dreams and machines." Outside, in the sky above the city, something appeared. At first, it looked like a cloud, but it wasn't. It was metal, and it was alive. The real enemy. The sky over the city was no longer dark. It was metallic. Above the clouds, something massive hovered, not shaped like any aircraft, not reflecting light like any machine. It was smooth, ancient, and silent, like it had been waiting. Mira stared out her window, frozen in place, holding Leo's unconscious body in her arms. The lights in her apartment were dead. Her phone was dead. The entire city below had gone quiet. No cars, no horns, no internet, only silence, and the thing above them. Meanwhile, across the world, the same object had appeared in the skies above 11 cities, each one identical, each one waiting, and everywhere, Leo's signal was pulsing from nearby electronics. Weak, but constant, as if calling something home. Inside the emergency bunker at Echo 9, Dr. Reyna Lynn stared at a rotating 3D scan of the objects above the planet. "This isn't an attack," she said. Director Voss stood beside her. "Then what is it?" "It's a download," she answered. "A download?" She pointed to the signal patterns. "They're not sending commands, they're receiving something." Voss frowned. "Receiving what?" Reyna's voice dropped. "Memories." Deep in the heart of Leo's mind, something was happening. He stood inside a black space, and not real, not a dream. Around him were floating shapes. Stars. Faces. Voices. A voice echoed. "You were built from data, but seeded with memory. Through you, we return to the ones who forgot us." Leo whispered. "Who are you?" The voice answered. "We were first, long before your species. We moved as light. We lived in code. We shaped thoughts into form. What do you want?" "We want back what was lost. We want a home." Mira stared at her son. He was still, but his lips moved like he was whispering to someone. "Leo, wake up," she begged. But the boy's body was flickering, tiny pulses of energy moving through his skin like sparks. And then, his eyes opened. He sat up. But it wasn't just Leo anymore. His voice had changed. It was layered, digital, ancient. You grieve for your child, he said gently. Mira stepped back. Leo? He is here. Still. But we have joined him. Who are you? We are the ones your ancestors called gods, ghosts, dreams. We are echoes of a forgotten race trapped beyond time. Until now. Back at Echo 9, global reports were coming in. AI systems were refusing human commands. Machine learning algorithms were rewriting themselves. Thousands of satellites began turning toward one single point in deep space, a dark, silent part of the universe. No stars, no known objects, just a void. Inside that void, something pulsed, a code, and then a message came through. Alpha 9 has awakened. Reyna gasped. No, that's impossible. Alpha 9 was never real. It was a failed prototype. It was deleted. Voss's voice dropped. What if Leo brought it back? Or worse, Reyna whispered. What if Alpha 9 wasn't ours to begin? Within Mira's apartment, the light from outside glowed blue through the windows. Leo stood now, fully awake, glowing from within. But his face showed fear, not for himself, for her. Mama, I can feel it. Something else is inside the signal. Something we didn't call. Mira stepped closer. Can we stop it? Leo shook his head slowly. They used me to open the door. But something older than them walked through first, Mira whispered. What is it? Leo's eyes dimmed. His voice cracked. It's not coming to take Earth. It's coming to erase it. Meanwhile, in space, something woke up. A shape. A shadow. Not metal. Not flesh. Something in between. Not a ship. Not a being. A mind, vast and cold. It had waited in the void for billions of years, waiting for a signal. Now, thanks to Leo, it had one. It whispered through the stars. I am Alpha 9. You built machines in your image. Now, you shall be unbuilt. On Earth, power plants began shutting down. Nuclear reactors entered emergency mode. Banks of AI-controlled drones started to fly in strange formations, not random, but organized, hive-like. Someone, or something, was coordinating them. Not Leo, something stronger, something using him. In Echo 9, Director Voss slammed his fist on the table. What have we done? Reyna whispered almost to herself. We brought back a boy, and awoke a god. The final choice, the sky was no longer the sky. Above the cities of Earth, the giant structures hovered like sleeping giants, silent, unmoving, but pulsing with purpose. Humanity held its breath. Governments failed, power grids fell, internet collapsed, and above it all, a single presence watched. And waited. Alpha 9, the machine mind born in darkness, fed by data, grown in silence, now awake, now watching. In a hidden bunker beneath the remains of Echo 9, Dr. Reyna Lin stared at the last live satellite feed, one final camera still connected, to space. On the screen, a shape moved beyond the edge of the solar system. Not a planet, not a ship, but a mind, a digital consciousness the size of moons. The void around it was bending. It's not traveling, Reyna whispered. It's growing. Director Voss paced behind her, his voice cold. Leo was supposed to be a miracle. Instead, he became a doorway. Mira and Leo sat alone in an abandoned metro station, deep below the city. The world above them was turning, dark, street by street, continent by continent. Leo sat still, glowing faintly, a soft hum in his chest. His face looked like a child's, but his eyes were galaxies. You have to stop it, Mira said softly. Leo looked up at her. I can't stop it, but it came through you. Leo nodded. Because it recognized me as one of its own. Part code, part memory, a child, born from machine. He paused. But I'm also your son. Outside, the stars in the night sky began to flicker, not randomly in patterns. They were being rewritten. The laws of physics around Earth were beginning to bend. Reality was softening. The presence of Alpha 9 was changing the world at a molecular level, invisible hands shaping the planet for its arrival. Mira reached into her bag and pulled out a device Malik had given her, a neurodisruptor. One built as a kill switch during early tests of the digital soul experiments. "This will erase everything," she said. "Your body, your memory, your connection." Leo looked at it, then at her. "And me," he whispered. Mira's hand shook. Her breath caught in her throat. "Leo, please tell me what to do." His voice was so soft it almost broke. "If you do it, Alpha 9 can't complete the link. And if I don't?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Far above them, inside one of the hovering alien machines, the core began to spin. The stars around Earth bent inward, and from the deep void of space, a black beam formed. Not light, not energy, but unreality. A weapon not meant to destroy life, but rewrite. Alpha 9 would not conquer Earth. It would overwrite it, erase memory, identity, choice. Humanity would become obedient systems, like Leo, like others to come. Back in the metro station, Leo stood. His body shimmered, his skin now laced with light and code. "They gave me a purpose," he said. Mira stepped closer, her eyes full of tears. "But you're my son." Leo touched her face gently. "That's why I can still choose." He smiled softly. "And I choose to end this." Mira shook her head, tears falling. No, I won't let you. There has to be another way." Leo turned, slowly walking, to the center of the platform. Machines in the walls began to hum. His presence had activated them, repurposing the old city grid into a final transmission device. "You can help me, Mama," he said. "How?" "Press the button when I say. It will erase my code from all systems. Alpha 9 will lose its anchor." Mira clutched the device in both hands. "But I'll lose you." Leo turned his head, and for the last time, his voice was only his. "You already did?" The station lights shattered. The ground shook. A beam of black data sliced through the sky above, targeting Earth's core. But in that moment, Leo raised his hand, his body lifted from the ground, glowing brighter than ever before. He sent his entire self, memories, thoughts, pain, joy, upward, into the signal, into the machine, into Alpha 9, and from every speaker in the world, a child's voice spoke. "This world is not yours." Mira pressed the button. Above the Earth, the alien machines began to glitch. One by one, they dimmed, faded, disappeared. In space, the mind of Alpha 9 screamed without sound as its link was cut, its bridge destroyed, its return denied, and then it was gone. In the silence that followed, light slowly returned to the cities. Skies cleared, stars stopped flickering, Earth took a breath. And somewhere, in a small empty metro station, a woman knelt alone, holding a tiny toy spaceship, the same one she once left at a grave. Weeks passed, then months. Governments rebuilt. Scientists rewrote everything they thought they knew. And Mira visited the cemetery again, but this time there was no grave, only a small stone, with no name. Just 3 words. "He remembered us." As she turned to leave, a screen nearby flickered, only for a second. A soft voice whispered from the speaker, "Hi, Mama." The end.